Mike Iaconelli.
It's awesome.
I feel.
I'm proud of this.
I know you've been working.
I'm proud of this. Yeah. I want to tell everybody this means a lot to me. Really, really does. I started kayak fishing about 6-7 years ago. I started competitive kayak fishing about 3 years ago. And boy, I got my butt whooped. Every time I would go and fish a competitive tournament. These guys are so good. You guys are so good. Kayak anglers are really, really good. So trying to win a professional kayak event is something I've been working at really, really hard. And trying to do it the right way. You know, not practicing in my big boat, practicing in the kayak, learning how to fish kayak tournaments, learning decisions, learning all the stuff that I didn't know. I'm used to big boat fishing, so
Get there to run around.
So I'm really proud of this. This means a lot to me. It means a lot to win this at Bass too. You know, my start of my career was at Bass when I fished through the Federation. I won amateur titles. I won the Classic and Angler of the Year. This might make people mad, but this is right up there with it. It means a lot to me. It really does. Hey everybody, Mike Iaconelli back out here in the shop with another video for you today. And at today's shop, we're going to continue the new series on tournament winning baits. I'm excited to talk to you about this one. And in today's shop, we're talking about the bait I used to win the Bassmaster kayak event on the Upper Chesapeake Bay. All right, let me start by telling you this. I am ate up with kayak fishing. I like it just as much as big boat tournament fishing. And kayak fishing is special because it sort of brings me back to my roots of fishing. Let me also tell you that winning a professional kayak event is just as hard and just as challenging as winning a big boat event. I've been trying for about 4 years to win one. So when that win finally came, that was my first official kayak win in a real kayak event, and it was very special. You know, kayak events have challenges, and they present you with situations that you don't have in big boat tournaments. And one of them is having to mine an area more thoroughly than in a big boat tournament. In that particular event, you know, I was fishing the Upper Chesapeake Bay, and I decided to fish out on the big flat, basically where the Susquehanna River dumps into the bay. And that's where it gets its name, the Flats, because it's a massive flat right there. It's a massive flat. The whole thing's 2 to 4 foot deep. It's got all grass. It looks the same. It's a massive flat. In a big boat tournament, I'd have a spot on the flats, a spot in a creek, a spot up the river. I could have 10 or 20 spots. But in a kayak tournament, you know, you're more limited. So I really strategized to spend my entire time on the flat. Even with doing that, it took a lot of time to get around. Because it was a Bassmaster event, I was allowed to use my Hobie kayak. It was a Hobie Ike approved PA14, and on the back I had my Torpedo motor on the back. So even with the Torpedo, it's still hard to get around, right? It's only 8 hours. So I developed the strategy out on that flat that was a two-pronged approach. One was to fish the ditches on the lower water, so that lower outgoing tide, I targeted ditches, and on the higher water, I flipped mats. And that day, I think I only caught 8 keepers, and I caught 6 of them on a soft plastic tail-weighted stick bait, and that's the bait we're going to talk about, and I caught 2 of them punching mats. So without a doubt, this lure, the good old trusty soft stick bait, was the bait that helped me win that tournament. I'm going to show you how to rig it and then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how I was fishing these ditches on the flat with this lure. Let's start with the bait. 5-inch soft stick bait. Man, I don't know if there's any other bait around that's caught more fish in the history of soft plastics than that lure right there. This is the Berkley Power Bait General. 5.5 inches. I used a color called Goat. And this color to me is the best of the 2 best colors ever made. Black blue flake on one side, green pumpkin on the other side. It's a classic bait. And I rigged it Texas style because think about it. In that tournament, there's grass everywhere. Eel grass. A lot of it was eel grass. River grass. Some people call it star grass. A little bit of milfoil left. A little bit of hydrilla. Duckweed. Slime. Dude, it's a massive flat loaded with grass. And because of that, I rigged it Texas style. But I want to show you what I did in that tournament. In a lot of these events, I'll rig it this way. Is I turn that stick bait backwards, okay? So 4/0, this is a VMC heavy duty worm hook, regular round bend, 4/0 VMC hook, and I turn that stick bait backwards. So instead of rigging it on the fat end like you normally do, I rigged it skinny end first, okay? So normal Texas rig, guys, I went in about a little more than 1/8 of an inch, push it around, get around the bend of that hook. As always, I want it straight as I can get it, right? This is your normal Texas rig on a soft stick bait. And when you rig it backwards, you're going to notice it does 2 things. It puts that skinny pointy end first. And that's going to help that lure get through weeds, right? Out on that flat on the Susquehanna, dude, there's so much grass. I wanted a pointy tip at the front. But the other thing it does is it allows that fat, blunt end to be on the bottom. And that's where this next piece of this rig really was important. And I don't think I would have won this event on a weightless soft stick bait. I actually tail weighted or nail weighted the back of that lure. And, you know, guys, what I do, it's real easy, is I use a VMC nail weights. And I love this, this is the 1/16 ounce size. And these are lead nail weights, okay? And if you look at them, the reason I use a lead nail weight is that because they're lead, they're soft. And it allows me to trim them on the spot. And so, you know, as the wind or the tide changes, I could use a whole nail, or in the case of that tournament, we had very little wind, especially on that lower tide. Guys, I would literally just cut that nail in half, okay? And when I cut the nail in half, all I'm going to do is I like to wet it. And now because that fat blunt end is in the back, it gives me a spot to seat the weight. And I just push that weight flush in that tail, actually kind of pull the tail back. And now it's a tail weighted soft stick bait. And in that tournament, it was so important to do that because it allowed this bait to glide backwards. But when I would twitch it or pull it, it will allow that skinny end to get through the weeds nice and smooth, okay? So I had a weighted tail that let it get into holes, little cracks. I'm going to talk about that in a second. I would let it fall, but then when I would twitch it or pull it, that skinny end would come through the eel grass very well. I could pull it through to the next crack or hole, and it would fall back down, okay? Really, I don't even know how to say it, but critical bait for me in that win. Now remember, these areas I fished were little ditches or depressions. Let me make this clear. On the Susquehanna Flats and on a lot of these shallow water tidal fisheries, a ditch, dude, it can be 10 or 12 inches deeper than everything else. That's it. Little depressions and ditches. Some were a foot deeper, but most of them were 8 inches deeper. Some of them maybe a foot and a half, but 8 to 14 inches, 8 to 16 inches deeper than everything else. And what happens as that tide starts to go out, it pushes the bait, it pushes the bass, anything on those flats, they're forced to those little deeper depressions. And that's where I threw that soft stick bait. Again, long cast, very, very key in a kayak. Hitting the little holes or cracks or edges in the eelgrass where I knew these ditches existed. Guys, if you have Google Earth, or if you have Bing Maps, or whatever mapping program, satellite mapping program you have, very critical for me in that tournament, finding those ditches using satellite imagery, okay? Long cast with that thing, letting the bait fall, tail weight it, so key. That was the bait. Talk to you a little bit about the rod and reel, and this is a rod that I have a lot of faith in when I'm trying to cast really far with light baits that weighs less than 1/16 of an ounce, and when I need to get a lot of leverage making long cast. Okay, so think about it. Long cast, and you need a lot of leverage. I'm fishing out of a kayak. If you're watching this and you're a kayak angler, you know that you need leverage. When seated, you need leverage. So the rod was critical. And guys, this is a longer spinning rod than you normally see. This is an Abu Garcia Ikes series rod, 7.6 MH, 7.6 medium heavy for me to make bomb cast. Long cast, the longer the rod, the longer the cast. But also that long rod, so when I feel that fish hit that soft plastic, that Texas rigs soft stick bait, even seated, I have a lot of leverage because it's a long rod. Okay, so 7.6 rod is what I used. I used the Ikes series Abu Garcia 30 size reel. And because I'm in a kayak and I'm making monster casts, listen, they would not hit in this event if you made little pitches. In these ditches, the water's so clean out there on that flat, I had to bomb it. And because of that, braid to a fluoroliter. I used 10-pound Berkeley X5 white braid. I could see the line. And I used a foot and a half, 2 foot, a 2 foot long leader of Berkeley 10-pound 100% trilene fluorocarbon. So the fluorocarbon helped that bait sink naturally. The fish didn't see it because it was invisible. So the fluorocarbon helped with that. But I really had to have that braid. Super long cast, getting them out of eelgrass and stargrass, trying to pull them out of there with a spinning rod. I had to have that braid. So critical rod and reel, critical bait that helped me win a tournament that's right up there for me with elite wins and classic wins, and very, very proud of that kayak win. Soft stick bait, nail weighted, that was the key. Key winning bait for me at the Bassmaster kayak tournament on the Upper Chesapeake Bay was the soft stick bait. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this shop. I hope you're enjoying this new series. If you like this, hit that subscribe button. Subscribe to the channel, man. We're going to get you a lot of great content, a lot of this stuff out here in the shop. If you're already subscribed, tell your friends about Mike Iaconelli Fishing on YouTube. We are here to help you learn more, pick up a few tips, and hopefully become a better angler. Try that stick bait on your favorite fishery. You're going to get some bites. Bye. Hey everybody, Mike Iaconelli. I hope you enjoyed this week's In the Shop. I hope you learned a little bit. And if you like these videos, remember, there's a whole boatload. Check out these two, and you're going to learn more about bass fishing.